In this topic, you will learn how to define products. To begin, you assign a product category. Now this comes with most of the product defaults. This is the first requirement. You are, however, able to modify these defaults to meet your needs. You then define the header section where you select the product ID, description, as well as the product status. Now, if a sequence number was assigned to the product category, you cannot enter a product ID. The product ID is automatically generated when saving the newly created product based on the settings defined for the sequence number. You next determine the status for the product. Now, the status includes active and in development, which these statuses depend on the creation mode for the product category that you've selected. If the creation mode is direct, the product status is active. If the creation mode is with confirmation, the product status by default is in development. If the status selected is on shortage, the product does not appear in the search window but can be selected using direct entry of the product code. A warning is displayed, however, you can proceed. If you use not renewed and obsolete, these are typically for information only. The product does not appear in the search window but can be selected using direct entry of the product code as well. If you select not usable, this prevents any selection of the product. The product does not appear in a search window and cannot be manually entered. Next, there's the Identification tab. This is where you enter descriptions for long titles that are used in screens and reports. You define the start and end dates for the product. You enter statistical groups as well as entering an image for the product or link to a product information. The settings on the Management tab are used to enter details of products managed in inventory. This is where you determine lot and serial management and expiration controls. The Units of Measure tab can be used to define the units of measure and packing units of measure for the product. The Financials tab is where you set up the accounting data and analytical information specific to the product. The Sales tab is where you define settings specific to selling the product. The After Sales tab is where you define information when creating a product that is a service. You also can define the Customers tab for specific customer product information. This includes the customer's product ID, description, as well as any specific sales and packing units of measure information. On the Supply tab, you define replenishment information. You can also define a user that is responsible for production planning and purchasing. And finally, the Suppliers tab is where you define specific supplier product information. This includes supplier ID, receipt, cost factor, purchase unit, minimum quantity, maximum quantity, and quality control information. With this information, let's define a new product. Your business is bikes. You decided you wanted to add bikes to the system. Now you already set up the product category with all the defaults, including that you wanted the bikes to be manufactured and sold only. The bike you would like to set up is a road and touring bike. To do that, we go to Common Data, we go to our Products block, and our Products function. Now at the Products function, create a new bike, we click on New, and then we add in our category that we created or defined. You notice that the product status is active. It defaults to active. That's because at the product category level, we set the creation mode to direct, which makes that active a default. Enter in our product ID, our product description, and our short description. And we'll go ahead and add an image here of our bike, as you can see, discussed earlier. The defaults coming from the product category is the product line, which allows us to do inquiries and reporting by that line, statistical groups, which allows us to do the same. We can also add product notes here that we can save and link to the product as well. Next, on the Management tab, the defaults come through that the product is managed in stock. its serial lot track, and the counter that's used for serial numbers when they are issued on the sale. Our units of measure have come through. They are each. Most important is the sale unit of measure. On our financials tab, our financial defaults come through. Accounting code for transaction, financial transaction. Our tax level that we set up. We only set up one. We can set up multiples for different combinations of tax. Analytical defaults come through. On the sales, the default came through that it's a flex kit from the category and that the selling unit is each. After sales, we could set up, if we check the creation of customer base, it allows us to enter in a warranty contract on the sale. This warranty contract will be generated and linked to the product. On the customers, we haven't set up customers yet. Here we can set up a link a customer to the customer's ID and description and the different selling and packing units of measure that we have for that specific customer. Now, because this is manufactured and sold only, the suppliers and supply tabs are grayed out, as you can see. Again, coming through from the product category. Now, once it's done, we create. And now we created our new product. Now, the next step, or where this would go, is that you would click on the product site or go to the product site creation and add the different sites or locations this product would be manufactured at or stored. And now you know how to define new products.